Hello everyone and welcome to my booktube channel. My name is Sarah and today I'm going to be discussing and reviewing Truthwitch by Susan Dennard. This is actually going to be spoiler free, so if you haven't read this book yet, there's no pressure. I won't ruin any major points of the plot for you. This book follows two best friends by the name of Sophia and Iseult in a magical land called the Witchlands. They are both different kinds of witches, which means they have powers. Sophia is what's called a Truthwitch, which happens to be very rare and important in that country. And basically, being a Truthwitch means she can tell a lie from truth. As for her best friend Iseult, she is a Threadwitch, which means she can sort of see the different emotions and ties between other people. Together they have been living pretty secluded lives up until the point where they get mixed up with a Blood Witch, which is a very evil witch. And this Blood Witch, named Adawan, starts to hunt them, and they sort of just have to go from there. So I was worried with such a complicated magic system that it wouldn't make sense and that I would have a hard time getting into it, especially since I haven't been reading a lot of fantasy lately. That wasn't really the case. The first 50 pages or so were a bit rough just because the world is so well thought out and immense that I just had a bit of trouble catching up with it. However, once you really get into the swing of things, it's really easy to pick up on all the little nuances. And although I still don't know all the different kinds of witches, I was able to mostly keep up with the different events and the politics of the realm. I really loved the romance in this novel. It was very subtle and slow burning. However, I don't want to talk too much about the romance because I want to talk more about Sophie and Iseult's friendship, because I think that was definitely the main point of this book, is that romances are good and can be amazing, but that friendship can be just as powerful and amazing, which I really appreciated because I feel like female friendships are so important and they're not very well represented in YA. There was a bit of a chosen one theme throughout the novel, and although I'm kind of getting tired of that because people are just throwing that element in randomly nowadays and it doesn't make sense and it doesn't really add anything to the story. However, I really like the idea of it being two best friends, two people that are bearing the responsibility of being the chosen one. I think it's enough of a twist to keep me interested. The two of them are both so different, which is exactly the reason why they're so successful. And the interesting thing about their powers is that unlike most of the other witch powers, which rely heavily on the elements, theirs are mostly tied to emotions and rely a lot more heavily on human interaction. So now let's talk about characters. First, I want to talk about Sophia. She's powerful and she knows it. She's very confident about herself and she's terribly brave. Her biggest fears are being caged in and being told what to do. Although I didn't personally relate to her as much as some of the other characters, I did think she was a really strong main character, and I really do like her. Now let's talk about Iseult. Iseult is my favorite ever, and I have definitely never related to a main character more in a fantasy novel. She's so unsure of herself and she's so brooding. Her sense of humor is just a bit obscure. I wouldn't know anything about that. I see myself so much in those aspects, not to mention the hazel eyes and the dark hair. But the thing about her is she also has so much power and the potential, I think, to go mad from the power and to go a little bit dark. I'm really looking forward to seeing more of her struggle with this in future books, just because I know that it's a thing that she's going to struggle with. Obviously, she has a lot of power and it's going to be dangerous for her the farther along in the story that we get. Now on to Merrick, the Prince of New Brevna, which is where this novel takes place. He's handsome, he's driven, he has such a strong sense of morality and such a great love for his people. And I really like seeing that in the monarchy in fantasy novels, just because in YA I feel like the monarchy is a bit more cold and they don't interact with their people as much and their well-being isn't as much of a priority. But it's so important to Merrick and you really see that, and he's really willing to do anything it takes to secure the well-being of his people. And I mean, I really like him with Sophia. I think they go well together. They have such different personalities, but they really mesh well. And personally, I just really love seeing the hate-love relationships. They really don't want to like each other, but they do. And I just really love that. And I'm excited to see where it goes from here. Now on to Leopold. We don't honestly know too terribly much about this character yet, which I think is very interesting. He has so much loyalty for Sophia, and I really liked seeing that. And that's driven him to do some pretty crazy things. However, we still don't know a lot about him, and so I think there's going to be a lot more with this character. I definitely think he's going to be a bigger character as the series goes on, but I'm just not really sure as to what role he's going to play in that. Next, I want to talk about my favorite guy character, which was Aduan. He's so great. I love him. I love him so much. I'll tell you why. He's crazy. He's twisted. He's super violent. And at first, you're just like, what? You're scaring me. Go away. And then as the story progresses, I just fell more and more in love with him. Like the first page he showed up, I was like, yes, he's mine. Can I have him? Can I have him, please? He intrigues me so much because you see his pain and you see his selfishness, but then there's also this huge potential for redemption with this character, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how that plays out. I want to see a little bit more into his past. I want to know everything about him. I mean, also I want to marry him, but that's beside the point. The plot in this novel was so fast-paced and exciting, and although there were moments when everything was definitely a lot calmer, I really did enjoy those because that's when the characters' relationships with each other really started to shine and you learned more about each character. I think this first book really set up this series well, and I think it's going to go in amazing places from here, and I'm so excited for the next one, and I don't want to have to wait a whole year for it, but I'm willing to wait. I'm willing. Overall, I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. I am obsessed with these characters now. I loved them so much. If you guys have not already picked this book up, I will leave the links in the description where you can do that. And also, you should definitely follow Susan on one of her social medias because she's so awesome. Even before I knew about her books, I was following her on her blog. She is an amazing writer and she's so encouraging to other writers. And so many of her different blog posts about writing and publishing has given me so much inspiration and so much hope for my own career, and she's just really nice, and you should send her some love. If you guys have read Truthwitch, you guys should let me know down below what you thought of it. And if you guys are new here, please subscribe. If you guys would like to follow me on Twitter or any of my social medias, I will leave the links to those in the description box below as always. But most of all, I hope you guys have enjoyed watching this video, and I will see you in my next one. Goodbye!